Oh, Brendan's here. Let's see what he has to say about Alyssa's theory.
I don't even know what I said.
I don't either.
Yeah, it was like an hour ago now. Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Are you not echoing anymore?
I don't think so.
Good. Good, good. Okay, I got earbuds, so I figured that would hopefully fix that. Now, the thing that you said that struck me was when you were talking about like the airing dirty laundry to be done with it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I totally agree with that. And I think that the tweet that she put out at like the mid 12:02 a.m. when she was releasing it, like also very much supports that because she said, I don't have it in front of me, but she was like, there are no scores to settle. There are no, like basically she's like, there's this author's firm belief that once the saddest part of your life is written down and the ink dries on the page, it is like holy, and then like there there's nothing left but the poetry. Like, and basically she's trying to like convey is like, I'm like, you should assume that when I've written these songs, they're about things that I have moved on from,
Hmm.
because that's the nature of the tortured poetry, right? Like,
Hmm.
which is not, I mean, on the one hand, that's obviously not literally true, because if it were, like, we never would have gotten would have, could have, should have, because
Yeah.
when she wrote down "Dear John," she would have moved on from it, right? So it's not literally true, but she clearly is trying to send us a message there, and I think it's the same message that she's been sending on the Eras tour when she says like, I want you guys to think about these songs instead of thinking about the periods of my life that they're from. Think about the memories that we've made together when you're here
Hmm.
all too well or whatever. And I think, and this is what I wanted to bring up, is I think that in the manuscript, which is the last song on this album, she very, very heavily leans into this same thing. And I know that people are saying that the manuscript is about All Too Well, like the film or whatever. I think I've seen that theory, and I can see that. But like so often with her songs, there like multiple layers of meaning. Like I would say the same thing about "But Daddy, I Love Him," actually, where I think it's like about the Maddie Healy and the fans and that, and then I think it's also about other things, like, and you can interpret it in different ways. But on the manuscript, she says, and the years passed like scenes of a show. The professor said to write what you know. Looking backwards might be the only way to move forward. Which that to me, when I heard that, when I noticed that line, I was like, holy shit, that's what I've been saying about the eras. That like this whole eras tour, she's looking backward
Hmm.
so that she can then pivot to looking forward, right? So like I feel very vindicated by that line. Maybe I'm just like over interpreting it, but like it felt very on
Well, it's
point.
giving
And then
you
she's
have to go back and heal. Like you can't just if
right,
you have trauma, like you can't just carry on and pretend it doesn't exist because it's just going to keep snowballing whether you notice it or not.
right,
So you
right,
have to
right,
heal to move
right.
forward.
No, I
I
think
feel
that's,
like as well,
and I
like,
think,
go ahead, Brendan.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, like, with the manuscript, I agree with you completely. I feel like there's many layers to the song lyrically,
Yeah.
where like I feel like if we had to pick a relationship, it's Joe and kind of everything that came
Right.
from that, because the whole Maddie situation was because she was no longer with Joe, and everything sort of wraps
Mm-hmm.
up.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like the song is a "you're on your own, kid" moment where there are lyrics that reflect back to previous moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
when she says looking backwards might be the only way forward, to me that also is very Midnights, right? 13 sleepless
Yeah.
nights,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Right.
revisiting.
Well, right. 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 Yeah, and
Uh,
that ties in, and that also ties in with like my thing of, because the idea that Midnight's and the Eras tour are this backward-looking piece, which I think she's then using to set up a sort of more like a path going forward where that she wants her art to be not quite so connected with like these DNA testable things in her personal life. Which is ironic because in some ways this album, at least the first half of it, is like maybe the most DNA testable album she's ever made. But I think that is part of what she means by looking backwards might be the only way to look forward. But like the part that I wanted to get to is at the end where she says the only thing left is the manuscript. One last souvenir from my trip to your shores. Now and then I reread the manuscript, but the story isn't mine anymore. Those are the last songs on the album, on the
Hmm.
anthology, the last words on the album. But the story isn't mine anymore. And if you there's, I don't know if this is just me or if this is intentional, but there's also a way in which she's, because the line before it is shores, the last trip to my shores, she says, but the story isn't mine, and she pauses, and then she says anymore, and I almost wonder if she wants us to hear the sort of unspoken, it's yours. The story isn't mine now, it's yours. She doesn't say that, but that would rhyme with shores, and it would fit the line, and it almost, there's like the reason why I thought of this was because like the second or third time I listened to the song, I forgot what the lyric was. And as I was listening to it, I thought she was going to say, it's yours, because it just felt right. It felt like that's the thing you would say. And then she said anymore, which also works, but I just wonder whether that might have been intentional. Regardless, even if that's not the case, I think that that is sending a message about, like, you know, the story that I've been telling, and, you know, which is about various aspects of my life and all this. It's not my story anymore because I've told it. It's the same thing she said in her tweet. It's like, it's on the page. Now it's for you guys to kind of do whatever you're going to do with it. But like, I'm not trying to settle any scores. There are no scores to settle. Like, I'm moving on, you know? And I just thought that was like super interesting that she ended the album with that. You know, like, because there's 31 songs on this album. So like, if you're looking for something to support any given theory, you can find it somewhere because there's so much to work with. But the fact that she ended the album with those words feels significant to me. And especially in concert with that tweet that she put out where she seemed to be making a sort of overarching statement about how to interpret her songs in some ways, where she's like, it is my firm belief that like, once you write down this thing that you were traumatized by or sad about, then like that becomes sacred and you move on from it. And like, I think that is not always how we as her fans like process her art. Mm-hmm. And I think that she's trying to maybe gently nudge us in a particular direction with that. So I don't know what you guys think of that, but like that's my sort of overarching take.
I mean, I completely agree, and I think that's also reinforced by the fact that the manuscript is also the final song for the standard edition variant.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
The manuscript is the one that she chose,
right,
for the main cover,
right.
So I think that's a really good point, and I think as well, it's like. When she, you know, with Dear John last summer, she's like, I'm not singing this. You guys can go and like attack him. Like, I'm fine.
Right.
This was a thought that I had. This is what I was doing.
Right.
And she said she's been so clear through the whole Torture Poets era that like she needed to make this music. It was her lifeline.
Right.
And that's how she copes, is writing songs. So she has written these songs. That has helped her cope. She's good. And I think that's also why she includes songs like The Alchemy and So High School of like, hey, this is where I'm at right now. Like, we're doing good.
Right. Yeah, and I think as well, like, you know, I know that some people are in response to, I can do it with a broken heart. Some people are saying like, oh man, I feel so bad that I was having so much fun and she was dying. And I'm like, I don't think that's what we're supposed to take away from that song. Because I think Taylor clearly wants us to have fun at her concert. Like, I don't think anything in the song suggests that she is lying about that. I think that what we're supposed to take away from that song is that we need to not assume that we know what's in her head, because this is something that fans do all the time where we're like, oh my God, she seems so in love. Oh, she seems so heartbroken. Oh, she seems so this. And she's like, I can do it with a broken, you don't know how I'm feeling. If I seem especially heartbroken because I'm singing a song right after I broke up with somebody or whatever, or I just got together with someone and now I seem really like bubbly, you don't know what's going on internally. I feel like that song is like a reminder of that. And I feel like that's what we're supposed to take away from it, or at least a thing that we're supposed to take away from it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, I think that ties in as well. The other thing about the manuscript that I think is interesting, and I also think But Daddy, I Love Him falls into this, and maybe other songs too. There's something about the music and the production that feels very cinematic to me. Like the manuscript almost feels like a movie soundtrack. Like if you just listen to the music,
Also, I Look Through Windows feels straight out of a musical.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I like, but the thing that I don't know if you guys are like familiar with the Truman Show theories about Taylor. There's some creators that have talked about this a lot, and I haven't paid a ton of attention to it in the past. But there's this idea that one theory about what that door, that the like orange door on stage at the Eras Tour is symbolizes. I know a lot of people, say it's karma because it's orange. It's a hidden album, but another theory about it is that it represents that door at the end of the Truman Show, where Truman like walks out and like leaves the set that he's been living on for his entire life.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot more to the Truman Show theory than that. I don't know all the details because I haven't like followed it in the past, but it just suddenly kind of struck me again with this album and with that song in particular, where she like with the lines about like the years past like scenes of a show, like that. I get the sense that she is sort of trying to like I saw somebody in a comment scrolling by her songwriting going forward may be a little bit less explicitly confessional and more kind of folklorish, and you can almost see that within this album where the first half of it was very confessional and then the second half was a lot more abstract, and more I joked it's sort of like it's less about this or that relationship and more about like Taylor Swift goes to therapy and tries to heal her inner child, like, and so I feel like that progression is maybe something that she's trying to signal to us, and that like the way that I put it a couple days ago on another live was like, in some ways, like if her career and her this multiverse of Taylors and storylines that she's created over the last 2 decades is the Truman Show. She is both Truman and the director. She's both, right? Because she's the one under the microscope, but then she's also the one choosing which scenes to show to the world. And like I think that my feeling, my theory that I think this album kind of lends some support to is that she wants to move on from that stage of that like meta era of her career where that feels like what she's always doing. And obviously she can't escape the bubble of celebrity. That's not what I mean, because that's just going to always follow her. But like sort of having this idea that her albums and her songs always have to like weave this narrative about her personal life. It's not how we view most singer-songwriters work, like, and that's worked really, really well for Taylor in establishing her as what she is, and that the authenticity that people perceive from that has really been a huge boon to her. But like, I feel like she's kind of overwhelmed by it now and wants to move in a direction that's more like Folklore and Evermore, where she can protect her peace a little bit more, but she doesn't want to invalidate any of the things that came in the past in a way that would upset her fans,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think we're going to keep getting, like such detailed diaristic stuff by her, but I think there's always going to be a balance of, whatever the album is, there's always going to be a couple songs that are going to be like super honest and very like her.
Which, and that is more like a typical, like, of course, because I'm obsessed with Brandi Carlile, I tie it in with Brandi Carlile, where like, on a typical Brandi Carlile album, you'll have a couple songs that are like super intense, like you don't necessarily know who or what they're about because Brandi Carlile is not the type of celebrity that Taylor Swift is, but like they're obviously intensely personal. And there's a lot of other songs where they're not that way. It's more, her songwriting doesn't fit into that box more than like 15% of the time.
Yeah, it's like when she was writing Lover, right? Like she said, obviously, I think there's, she might have been in this whole denial stage, but at the time she had told us like 1,000 cuts that she was like, hey, I wanted to see like, could I still write a breakup song? Because even though I'm happily in love, like, could I still do it? Now we have a bit more context of like, probably is something that happened.
Right.
But I think it's that same thing as well with either My Tears Ricochet, Death, 1,000 Cuts, etc., where she she's gonna dabble. I do think
Right.
that we get a lot of. I'm hoping a lot of Travis in TS12, a lot of like, more of this experience and what it's like just living with a different kind of man and things. But it doesn't always have to be her, right? It can also she's gonna write
Right.
about being an adult. And I said for a while, I said I thought that her next album TS11 was going to have songs that were also very much about like her take, not just always this boy did this to me, but how
Right.
do I feel with it? And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be heartbreak.
Right. And I think that you see, I think that we're seeing more of that type of thing. I also think, and this is, um, you know, people can take this theory, take it or leave it, because like I know that not everybody's going to agree with it, but I I feel like it is helpful to conceptualize when she says things in songs that seem to like confirm a fact about like, oh, this is telling us how she felt about Maddie, or oh, this is confirming, like Blue Dress on a Boat is confirming Harry Styles this or that, or for people on a different side of the fan base, this or that confirms this about Carly Kloss, whatever. For all of that, I think that it's helpful to think of it not necessarily as her confirming a fact as true, but rather confirming a piece of lore as canon. Does that make sense? Like, because I think that she has blurred a lot of lines over the years, and I think that there are probably songs that we think are about a specific thing that she wrote in a way that was designed to help us, to guide us towards thinking that, but that might not actually be about that thing, or might not be primarily about the thing that we think they're about.
Well, it's like My Tears Ricochet, right? Like it
Yeah,
is. If you don't know anything about Taylor, it's a song about divorce, and that's fine. But
right,
if
right,
not, but if you know Taylor, you're like, haha, it's a metaphor.
right.
I'll
But
be right
then,
back.
like,
I'm gonna go make some coffee.
okay, I think like for instance, like I'll just to bring up Brandy again for a second, because it's a good example. In her autobiography, she talks about the song "Raise Hell," which is a like kick-ass rock song that has a very it in its own way is kind of cinematic, and is very like imagery of like the devil and Gabriel, and like it's a real it goes really hard lyrically and musically. But in her autobiography, she reveals that what that song was actually inspired by was she was like collabing with this other artist who she was on tour with, and she was pissed off at him because he was being a jerk. And so one day she just sat down and wrote this song "Raise Hell," like inspired by a feeling that she had about this guy that she was pissed off at, also mixed in with some feelings that she had about a romantic situation at the time. And she poured all of that into this amazing song that on its face has nothing to do with either of those things, but was inspired by the emotion. And that's what Taylor says about Folklore and Evermore, right? I think that there's probably a bit more of that in her whole discography than we realize. And that like sometimes she puts in Easter eggs, but that there's also a deeper meaning that might not have anything to do with what the Easter eggs seem to be confirming. And that's why I just think that like in sort of understanding the true like intent of some of these songs, it's helpful to like compartmentalize it a little bit and say, okay, she by putting this line in or by saying this thing, like she's confirming this bit of lore as like canon. This is like Taylor Swift relationship canon. Does that mean that it's actual gospel truth about what happened in the life of the person Taylor Allison Swift? We'll never know, like because
Yeah.
but it also sort of doesn't matter because it's the story that she's telling, and like the stories that she tells don't have to be literal truth, and they don't have to be always 100% consistent with one another, and they're not always consistent with one another,
Yeah.
And I think it's like I really find it so like I think like being able to sort of appreciate her songs on both of those levels at once really like deepens my appreciation for them. Like, but Daddy, I Love Him has like obvious parallels and like references to the Maddie Healy situation and the fans and everything that everyone's talking about.
Like, yes.
Right. But then like at the same time, I know there's other fans that are seeing this as like this deep allegory around like religious trauma and like I think that also there's also a lot there, like and maybe she had both things in mind when she wrote the song. Who knows?
That's what Taylor does, though, right? Like that's everything about her is she can write the most detailed, exact moment of her life, what she went through that no one else can relate to, but she can tell it in a way that anyone can relate to it.
Right.
Like I have not been with someone who had a red scarf, but I get the metaphor. Like it's all there. If it doesn't have to be a red scarf for her, it was. But for us, it's a metaphor.
Right.
And so it's all of that.
Yeah. So what's your? I forget. I think you said before, but what are your favorites right now?
Okay, so from part 1, it's My Boy Only Breaks the Favorite Toys, Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, Clarabow.
I love Clarabow.
And then part 2, it's The Black Dog.
Okay.
I'm Gonna Get You Back. How Did It End? Peter. And Robin. Peter and Robin.
Okay. I have the manuscript and the Black Dog are my top 2, and then Who's Afraid of Little Old Me is my top from the first half. But Daddy, I Love Him. Thank You, Amy. I just think Thank You, Amy slaps. Like
it does.
Like I know, I don't really care about the Kim Kardashian stuff or like is it really about Kim or is it whatever? Well, I don't really care about it. I just think the song slaps. And then Clarabow, The Prophecy, and Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. But I also have Peter in my top 13.
The Prophecy, right?
So.
The
Prophecy has such Willow vibes. Like The Prophecy is like Willow Part 2. Like.
Yeah.
So Brooke just commented, I am tired. So I was like, I need coffee. Brooke commented something on here and it made me laugh because the I Hate It Here, I always forget that that's like a track title. So like when people are commenting it and they're like, I hate it here, I'm like
oh.
Yeah, like they'll comment like I hate it here on like a video and I'm like, well then why are you here? Like you don't have to like watch the video if you don't want, but then I'm like, oh, they're talking about the title track.
Right. Oh, that reminds me, like, so I Hate It Here. Another thing that Liz, I forget. Did I talk on one of your guys' lives before about like the Emily St. John Mandel Counterlife stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay. So my favorite author is Emily St. John Mandel. And she wrote the Station 11. That's like her most famous book because it's been made into an HBO show. But she's written a bunch of stuff. And in The Glass Hotel, which is my personal favorite of her books, she talks about this concept of counter lives where several of her characters sort of have these vivid emotional experiences where they are thinking about sort of alternate paths that their lives could have taken and like vividly sort of imagining like events that would have transpired in these alternate universes. And it's and like we all do this sometimes, right? Like we all think about like, I made this choice, and if I'd made this other choice, and you can go off and daydream about some, alternate scenario. I think I feel like Taylor Swift probably does that a lot because she's clearly a very imaginative, creative person. And I have a pet suspicion that some of her songs that we think are describing a literal event might be about a counter life. It might be like, something that happened, like something that, she's writing about some experience with one of her exes or whatever. And it's like, maybe this literally happened, or maybe this is something that she dreamed up and wrote it into a song. And the thing about the counter life concept that comes through in Emily St. John Mandel's writing is this notion that the counter life is not like an emotional experience in your counter life is not inauthentic. It's not like a deception. It can be like just as real of an emotional experience as something that you literally went through. Which I think is like important in the context of Taylor, because to the extent that I'm right, and she might have some songs that are like that, that doesn't mean that they're like she's lying to us or that fans should feel betrayed if certain things that she said in All Too Well like didn't go down that exact way. That which maybe they did. I'm not saying they didn't, but like that to me is like an interesting concept, and part of the reason why I Hate It Here is because she has that verse where she talks about the chorus itself, I think, kind of like talks about this idea of like she's living in a secret garden in her head or something, and then she talks about like a colony on the moon. She's basically talking about her counter life. Like in my mind, I'm like, I know that Emily St. John Mandel did not invent the concept of daydreaming, so like I recognize that, but like there's something about that song that like I feel like sort of validates this idea that sometimes where she wants to be is in the realities that she can imagine, not necessarily the one that exists. And maybe with that song, she's hinting that like some of her other songs are like that, you know? I don't know. I think there's so many layers to her songwriting, and I feel like this album really teased a lot of them out in a way that is like totally fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think that this album just has like she's never been more vulnerable in my mind. Like I think
Right.
it's so like almost unnecessarily honest about all little things, and like, you know, she's at the height of fame, right? And she decided
Right.
to release an album that, you know, while there's a lot of fault in other situations, she doesn't look the best in this sometimes, because she just looks like, I didn't give
Right.
up what my friends said, like,
Right.
nah, I'm for the toxic man.
Right.
But she's also like, that is real life. Like, Enchanted is great, but that's a fairy tale, right?
Right.
Like, these things don't happen. This is like real, a 34-year-old's life.
Right.
Yeah. I fall in love with it more and more every single time I hear one of the songs.
Yeah, I feel like I think you said earlier that the second half made you love the first half more.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
totally felt that. I hadn't really identified it until you said it, but as soon as you said it, I was like, that is exactly how I feel. Where like through the first half, I liked it, but it was like I didn't love it. And so then I loved the second half, and then for a while my attitude was like, oh yeah, the second half is so much better. But then when I actually went back and started ranking my favorites, it's about equal, and it's like the first half. I feel like those songs on the Desner songs somehow like lifted up some of the Antonoff songs and made it that I love all of them more. Like I don't know how that even happened. She's a mastermind. You know?
Obviously, it's two albums, but they, you know, the first album is much more jacked. The second album is almost
right,
and they do play off each other to where the first album is it's frustration and anger and just like, could you? And the second one is a bit more pull back and understanding the situation in a more calm, after the fact way.
Right.
You then can hear things that she's talking about in part two that she's referencing in part one, and hear the growth. And so then it really makes that moment whole.
Right. What do you guys make of all the like religious imagery? Like there was a lot of references to like Christians this, and like I don't know, like there was like a ton of like again, But Daddy I Love Him had, but there's a bunch of others too. Like I can't remember which songs now, but what did you guys make of that?
Alyssa?
I mean, we definitely noticed it. I don't know why, besides the fact of like, I know she has said previously before, like she is Christian.
Right.
And, you know, maybe it runs a little bit deeper than we think it does for her. I don't know. But it was definitely a theme that we picked up as well. Like the beginning of like So Long London, like sounded like wedding or choir or something like that.
Yeah.
She had many references.
They're like, it's like Big Ben's chime is what I'm hearing. But I think the religious imagery.
Taylor just tweeted.
Oh. Really?
Or something on Instagram popped up. Okay, hold on.
I don't know where I'm looking. They just went running. I stayed here on the line.
Okay, so it's.
I'm back. Yeah, we're back. What
happened? I don't know what happened yet.
Listen, the last time she tweeted, we got our all of our hearts stopped because she said it was a double album.
I love your video. I love your video of that, Alex. I've been sending that to everyone.
I know, it's literally like the most epic video because it cracks me up because Alex is freaking out and he's clinging onto Katie and Katie's going like this. And Alex eventually puts her in like a bear hug and like holds her there.
And then it was like, there was like an initial primal scream, and then you think it's done, and then there's another primal scream, even louder than the first one.
Well, because the first thing was just like Alyssa knows. Like I've been saying for so long. I was like, something big is coming. As of Alyssa, and then on Tuesday,
The twos
are twoing. When Nikki and I were live and we were looking at that timetable, I said, 100% it's a double album. I'm all in.
Now she's tweeting again.
The happening again that she did on release on the Thursday when she says happening again on the tweet, I was like, it's confirmation.
Yeah, no, that was in I think that was in the video that I made from your live, because I was on your live when that happened. Yeah. And yeah, you were like, and it was funny because I remember like when I put it in the video, I confess when I put that in the video, I thought, I hope this doesn't make Alex look silly when it doesn't happen.
No,
and then it happened. You were right.
Was like, because all I saw was double.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, so that was the first scream. And then as we keep reading, we're like 15 songs. I'm right. It's a full album. It's not just like, here's 6 songs. Like it's
right.
I love like this past week too. Like Brendan was like our like hype man. Like I loved that so much. Like he was like, he like took mine, Courtney, and JoJo's video. Like that like melted my heart. Like when you took like our little TikToks and like put them next to each other, I was like, I'm so cool. Like I literally like Brendan like took my lives too and like put it with everyone else's, and I was like,
oh yeah, when I was doing the chaotic multi-live thing.
Yeah,
where it was just that was fun because it was sort of like, welcome to the inside of every Swifty's brain. You know, it's just like 8 different people talking about Taylor at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's the music video one, and I was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It made me feel really cool.
And I think as well, like, absolutely, I don't mean this in any disrespect to any creator, but like, you know, within an hour before the album came out, I was going through TikTok and I saw Jake's videos of being like, guys, it's not a double album. You guys
right.
It's not happening. And I just was like, oh, Jake, you do make so much sense. Like, I love you, but like, I'm holding on to this. And so what happened, it was just like,
yeah, no, that was, I think in my caption on the like the video of your reaction, where I was like, you know, it wasn't, or I said, I know what it was the video of my reaction. And I said, it was like to the surprise double drop. And then I put an asterisk next to surprise. And I was like, it wasn't a surprise to Alex Day and Nikki King, but has anyone done a health check on Jake Dayton? Is he okay? Because I saw that same video, and he kind of convinced me, you know, and so same as like he like sowed doubt for you, and he convinced me, and so then that was wild.
I just like, it just was there. It was there, like it was there.
It was rare. It was there.
I remember.
I know, like I know. Everyone kept sending me Jake's like post finding out it was a double album video.
Oh yeah,
I haven't seen that one. What was his reaction?
He immediately said, "It's not a double.
It's not a double.
Okay.
It's not technically a double album. It's that doesn't make sense. But I was like,
and I commented and I said, look." Her words said double album. That's the world that I'm living in.
Well, and I think like the important thing, like I talked about this on the live the other day. I understand, right, that like people consider because of like logistics and stuff, a double album to be like Torture Poets Department and Reputation, like something that is completely different that would compete.
Right.
However, the fans are calling it a double album because that is what Taylor called it.
Right.
And if she would have called it a deluxe or something like that, that's the phrasing we would have been using. However, she didn't, so everyone is saying it's a double album. So like, I hate that everyone's like, it's not a double album. Like, it's what Taylor called it.
Right.
There's so many things. 1, she calls it a double album. 2, the cover art is different.
Right.
3, it's literally 2 different genres of music. They are separate entities sonically.
Right. And it almost literally doubles the number of tracks.
It's 15 songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a full 15 songs.
Right.
Yeah,
I do wish that we could call it TS12 just so that I could like, well, first of all, then we'd be ready for TS13, which would be exciting. But also, I kind of want to rank them separately. Like, it's so hard when I'm thinking about like, okay, what's my album ranking now? And I'm like, I don't know how to compare a 31 song. I mean, I guess Red, Taylor's version, is close to that anyway, but like, I don't know. It's just, it feels hard to like compare it to like Reputation or Evermore, like,
Okay, everybody, we see the tweets, we promise. It's just her
lyrics.
People it's think lyrics with her reposting reviews. Like, we see them. It is nothing wild. Like, it's not her giving anything crazy. If you guys want to go review the like articles that she's reposting, you guys can.
Oh, she's like posting people's like reviews of the album.
Yeah, like she has one from like the Independent, and then she has everyone we know understands why it's meant to be. There's one from iNewspaper that says, I feel like laughing in the middle of practice. There's one from the Times and the Sunday Times, these chemicals hit me like white wine. And then she has one from the Rolling Stone that says, and that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding.
Could be someone said earlier they think she could be hinting at the lyric collection for March.
Yeah. Did you guys notice how, like, either in retrospect but also in real time, because I didn't in real time, that like almost all of the lyrics that she used in advance as like Easter eggs and stuff were from the second album. Like, it was something where
I said that before
the
album dropped. I made a video and we'll watch it. It's literally from Thursday afternoon. And I don't think any of these lyrics are from the album. I think this is why they were behind the bookcase in the Spotify pop-up.
Yeah.
Because because I kept saying this to Alyssa, I was like, I don't think that necessarily the Apple thing is some big crazy lyric, because she's just dropping lyrics left and right on her typewriter.
Yeah.
So whatever's behind the glass is special, and she's highlighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole thing was for us to know those lyrics, listen to the album, be like, there are none of these lyrics are here. And then wait for it for 2:00.
Right.
Well, and I thought it was, I think it was a comment on a live that, or I don't know who told me this, but remember how there was empty books on the Spotify thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we had 15 tracks that we didn't know about.
Right.
Just off topic, my friend Katie just got home and she opened her signed vinyl. Her heart is like a whole entity of heart. Like, it's not just tacked onto her name. Really pretty.
Aww.
Oh, wow.
It's like a nice little separate heart.
See, I want a heart that's kind of like separated like that.
Yeah. Katie is awesome, by the way. I want to like hang out with your friend Katie. You and she were just like so like funny in all the like lives that I saw and stuff, and like her reaction at midnight on like midnight the night before, where she was like, "Woo!" and starts running around the room.
Katie is she's a 13 out of 10 at all times. She's a load of fun.
But we already called dibs on you for the next one, right?
What?
Alex Day.
Oh.
We'll have to see what happens.
You're gonna make me mad, sir.
We'll play it later. Maybe we'll have everyone's included.
Was there talk about like another South Carolina thing? I like picked up on some hint of that.
Like in South Carolina, or like just
like I thought I saw like somebody, maybe like the professor, or I don't know, somebody saying something about like hope to have you guys back next year or something. But I don't know if
she had talked a little bit about it. Like I know. Mainly like because the Tin Roof was saying like, if you guys do this next year, and so Kate was talking about that as well, like, if we do it next year, then they want to do this and this, and they were really excited to have everyone and stuff like that. So I mean they could do it next year.
I should try to like work behind the scenes and get like CU or the University of Denver or something to like hire her away from South Carolina, and then get her out to Denver, and then she can do it again, and then you guys will all come here. I'm gonna plot behind the scenes. I'm gonna be a mastermind.
Katie asks, Katie says, "What's everyone's top 3 right now?"
Oh God.
Mine's Manuscript, Black Dog, and Little Old Me. Right now, it'll probably be different tomorrow. But
my boy favorite toys, Peter the Bolter.
Down Bad, but Daddy, I Love Him, and I Can Do It with a Broken Heart.
Good choices. Prophecy, Black Dog, and Bolter.
God, I know. I freaking love the Prophecy though. That was when I was like picking, and I love the Black Dog.
I've also I really like. Hang on, I do get it confused.
I do love the Tortured Poets Department.
I really like Fresh Out the Slammer. I really like Fresh Out the Slammer.
It's growing on me. I didn't like it at first, but it's growing on me.
Yeah, it's moody.
I know. I like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. God, it's just so cool that we have so many new songs. Like so many.
It is so many. It's scary.
I was like doing the math on that because, like, so I became a Swiftie basically with Red Taylor's version. Like that was my Swiftie awakening. Because I'd gotten onto TikTok, and I got onto Swiftie TikTok just by like virtue of demographics. I think the algorithm was like, you seem like someone who might be a Taylor Swift fan, and so I started getting all this content about Red Taylor's version, and I was like, all right, let me listen to this 10-minute song that everyone's talking about, and I was like, and I was my life changed in the produce aisle of the grocery store when I listened to that song for the first time, and so I became a Swiftie. All Too Well 10-minute version, yeah. And so like since then, if you go back to like, you know, the day after Red Taylor's version through the day before Tortured Poets, she had released 33 new songs in that time for, you know, Midnight's 3 a.m. edition, You're Losing Me, and then the vault tracks from Speak Now and 1989 added up to 33 songs. So the entire time that I've been a Swiftie, 33 new songs. And then 31 new songs the other night, all at once, you know, is wild.
It was, I love Taylor. Thank you so much for doing the double album. I don't want it again.
Right.
It's a lot.
My brain was mush by probably halfway through part 2. Mm-hmm. And Katie and I were just sat there like, I can't even comprehend what she's saying. I've seen so many TikToks of people just like, I don't know what's happening. My brain is...
So we did our reaction videos, right? And in the second half, besides like so high school, maybe just so high school.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Kim one. We're literally like the whole time. Like I was like, there's no point in posting these because we're literally just zoned out. The next night we were listening with Ty and Hannah again because they hadn't listened to it yet. And I literally looked over to Courtney and I said, did we skip this song last night? I don't remember hearing this one at all. And we pulled up the reaction videos. We did. We had listened to it.
Oh, yeah. Like even today, there are a couple songs that will come on and I've just had it on shuffle and like trying to just see if I can like pinpoint what song it is. I have it's like I've never heard it before in my life.
Yeah.
I don't get why people are saying that Amy is about Carly. It literally capitalized says
Kim. Like it's Kim.
I don't get that. So where is that coming from?
I was talking to somebody last night who had a theory about it, and I can't remember what they said. You know, like the thing that I think is interesting about that song is like, you know, it's like in this, there's what the song itself says, and there's like what the title like flags for us about the song, and I don't know, like I think I could buy the idea that it has some kind of a double meaning. I don't know if the other meaning has anything to do with Carly. I was joking about that with the person who was saying that it was about Carly, and I was like, maybe KIM stands for Carly is Muse. I don't think that's the reason why. That was just my little take on it.
I mean, she literally has the lyric in there about like the daughter coming with North coming to sing the song, right? Like, so I mean, the thing is that is getting a little bit stretched. Like, even if Carly, because I'm seeing Carly has a sister named Kim, like,
right.
Why would she make a song about Carly's sister? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that like what I think is more plausible is that it could be referencing like something that we don't know about at all, some school bully from when she was a kid or something, and that like the Kim stuff is an Easter egg that is meant to. I mean, let me put it this way: she obviously intends us to think that it's about Kim Kardashian. There's Correct. No question. There's no question that she intends us to think that. Now, is it possible that there's some like that is a little bit of a bait and switch, a little bit of a mastermind sleight of hand? I don't think we could rule it out, but you also can't prove it. Like the thing with and to that point, like the thing about this goes back to what I was saying earlier, I think, about like lore and like canon, right? That song being about Kim is canon. She confirmed that lore, that is canon, right? That is a fact as far as the lore is concerned. Now, was she really thinking about that, or is there some other incident that we don't know about she was thinking about? Who knows? We'll never know. We don't know what's inside her brain. But like, she intended us to think that it was about Kim. So like, in a way, like, that's kind of all that matters. That's like, what story is she telling? You know, like, I sometimes think we get a little bit too like up in our heads and caught up on like what is the literal truth as opposed to like what is the story that she's telling. Because like, you know, because the way that I like to say it is that she writes a lot of songs about characters who are named Taylor Swift, and that we as fans sometimes sometimes forget to or have a hard time like separating out the character Taylor Swift from the person Taylor Swift, to say nothing of the brand Taylor Swift and the, you know, there's many different Taylor Swifts. But like, if it were to emerge that like, you know, something that somebody thinks about this or that muse isn't true, isn't what actually happened, well, that doesn't make the story any less valid. Like if someone is writing art and they're telling a story, that story is valid irrespective of, you know, how based on a true story is it and how fictionalized is it? Either way, the art is valid, you know? It doesn't have to be like, you know, that like every word of it is precisely what happened in her real life, you know? So I don't know. The is it about Kim thing to me is sort of like just angels dancing on the head of a pin. It's like she wants us to think it's about Kim. So in that sense, it's about Kim.
I also think as well, because remember, she started writing this album in like Feb of 2022, right? So right. Like the album clearly evolved as she was writing it, and she was writing some music, and obviously she's not writing any of the Maddie Healy stuff until last May, right. June, when we saw her in the studio every single day. The Thank You Amy song literally could have been direct 100% a Kim song, not just intended right. From right. You know, that year before she even started going down this other route.
But right. Isn't it one of the Kardashians that own like a share or something with TMZ or one of the things, and then isn't that where Dumois supposedly gets a lot of her leaks, and then we had that thing with Tree Paine shutting down the stuff about the pregnancy yeah. rumors and all that. And what I thought was really interesting too was the fact that she says something about baby steps on that. So it's just that's what leads me back to thinking that this is her, like, once again, this is her being brutally honest, holding nothing back, and it's her telling us, like, with the capital letters throughout, like, it is Kim. She's calling, you know, saying like, your daughter came home singing my song. I don't know. To me, it seems like she is being very, very honest about what it's about.
And also,
Chris owns parts of TMZ. Yeah.
That, Alyssa, we have to remember, Midnights was, right, this concept album of reflecting back on these specific moments. this is new music since the re-records have like hit, right? Like
Right.
Fearless is kind of a let's just see what happens. We're not gonna go heavy on this whole promo, and then she's like, oh, you guys love them, they're doing really well, and then she's amped them up, and so I think part of everything relationship wise that she's been going through with Joe, Maddie, etc., is also because of who she is, which is thus reflected on the re-record process, and
Right.
she's aware to know that this all kicked off from Reputation, which is the beginning of Joe, but also the Kim situation and Kanye. So I think it's
Right.
all very fitting to the themes of the album about Taylor's, being the anti-hero, the big giant in the room, and how
Right.
that to her relationships.
What I wonder is with the Kim song, Gil commented, I think the Kim song is just here's what I think you guys want me to feel like about this situation. I don't necessarily think that's right, but it gets me. I think it's plausible. It could be that, but it gets me thinking. Like, one thing that I wonder if she's conveying with the Kim song in a subtle way is like that her stories are not always straightforward. What I mean by that is, like, the song itself is literally about someone named Amy, right? Like, the song doesn't say Kim. The song says Amy. Obviously, because she doesn't want to, like, you could see why she wouldn't want to say the literal names of the literal people, right? But so she, like, drops this, like, she, like, flags the fact that it's about Kim with this, like, with the title, with the capitalization and stuff, as like a very obvious clue. It's like so obvious that it feels silly to even call it a clue, but like that is what it is ultimately. It's a she's saying, like, hey guys, like, here's what this is about. I'm gonna tell you with capital letters, but like that actually appears nowhere in the song per se. And I wonder whether, in addition to telling us whatever she's trying to tell us about Kim and that, which I think is fairly obvious, I wonder if she's also sort of more subtly trying to tell us, like, sometimes the things in the song aren't literally exactly correct, or like the names or the words that I'm using are not precisely on point, because sometimes I have to fudge it a little bit, and like, but I will give you a hint, and she's giving us a hint there. I don't know, like, I think there could be like a meta message to that song as well that I think is like super interesting. But yeah, like, again, like, she clearly means us to think that it's about Kim. So like, at a certain level, that's the answer to the question. Like, she wants us to think it's about Kim. So in that sense, it's about Kim.
Yeah.
That creates the reality.
Yep. Yeah, because she didn't have to capitalize anything, and the context of the song being, it's very clear that she's talking about, the re-records and her reputation and everything that happened. You don't have to have Kim's name in there, but she wanted to be like, nope, this is what you're thinking. I know you guys will like this.
Sorry, can you hear me again?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, that's a great comment. I changed her name is a lyric, but also she's changing the name of the song because she's not going to say thank you, Kim. Kim doesn't get it, right? Kim only gets the little capital letters. She doesn't get her name in the name of the song, and I think that is it's also the humor that Taylor's injecting in this album as clear coping mechanism. She's clearly got her little wild side, and she doesn't care.
Right. Well, I better run because that was actually my wife calling me. That was why I disappeared for a second. So it was fun talking to you guys. Thank you for letting me come on.
Yes, of course. Thanks for popping on, Brendan.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Enjoy. Bye.
Bye.